Welcome to the programme, Graham. First of all, I suppose it's a moral quandary. We know that we don't want to get oil and gas from Russia. We know that Europe is moving away from that. But equally, we can't suddenly stop using oil and gas in mere days, weeks or even months. So we've got to get it from somewhere. How does the UK government balance that with the very real human rights concerns?
I think it's difficult, but the fact is that the Russians are killing thousands and thousands of people, both on their own side, sort of young conscripted men, and Ukrainian citizens. I think although one would wish Saudi Arabia to have a different system than they do, there is no comparison in terms of what they are doing to the Russians. So if we want to put more pressure on Russia, we have to have an alternative supply of oil and gas. I also think it's worth saying that our high horse on these things shouldn't be quite so high. We regularly give money in aid to countries that have capital punishment and have pretty awful regimes. And secondly, within my lifetime, we have executed people who turned out after they've been executed to be innocent. So, and by the way, for most of the time since we got rid of capital punishment, which I support getting rid of capital punishment, a majority of people in this country have been in favour of it. So even the moral arguments aren't quite as clean-cut as you might think they are.
Certainly, there is a question over capital punishment. However, I think describing what goes on in Saudi Arabia as simply capital punishment when it's brutal beheadings of political dissidents does seem to be sanitising it somewhat.
I am not trying to sanitise it. I am saying that we've had capital punishment. Many people in this country support it. I don't support either capital punishment or the way the Saudi Arabian regime organises itself. It's not just that they behead people, it is also that they torture people, and their system of justice would not be recognisable under that name in this country. It's not a system I support. I'm just saying that probably our position is not as morally pure as sometimes people think it is.
And circling back to what you mentioned at the start of your first answer, the idea that we can't compare what goes on in Saudi Arabia with the brutal expansionist regime of Vladimir Putin, the way that he has attacked Europe in the way that he has. I wonder if it's possible here to sort of rank dictators from the absolutely unconscionable to the only slightly awful.
It's not an exercise I would particularly wish to do, but I think when we are talking about securing the supply of energy for our country, trying to get some control on the prices, in practice, you have to do that. The Saudi Arabian regime is not the same as the Russian. The Russians are killing thousands of people in the Ukraine at the moment, and it's a pretty awful sum to do. But I think it's a sum that has to be done. And incidentally, there is nothing new in this. In the Second World War, we were allied with Stalin, who had already sent millions of people to death, both in Ukraine and by exiling people into the Gulag in Siberia. We helped what the Russians call the Great Patriotic War. We helped them win that war by sending supplies, both of weapons and food, to Russia during the latter parts of the Second World War. So these pretty awful dilemmas are things that governments have to face in times of existential crisis.